It was 4 a.m. I woke up groggy, anxious, and scared. The house was quiet and most everyone was asleep. I got dressed in the most comfortable sweatpants and t-shirt that I owned and got into the car. It was a drive I had driven many times, but this time I was the passenger. The 30-minute drive seemed like it was never ending. My surroundings were dark and the air was cool. It seemed like we were the only ones on the road. When we reached the destination, my anxiety was overwhelming. I was let out at the door and the driver left to park the car. Waiting for him to join me again in the early hours of the morning was exciting. As we entered the building, the thought set in that when we leave, we will be the proud parents of a baby girl. When we arrived, we went upstairs to the maternity floor and were given a beautiful room with a great view. The room was extremely inviting. In addition to the bed, there are 2 rocking chairs and a love seat. There was an attached bathroom that had all the luxuries of home. I was positioned in the bed, and nurses approached me with preliminary paperwork. After completing the paperwork, I was given an IV. The medication I was receiving was Pitocin, a medication to bring on labor. I had a near picture-perfect pregnancy until 4 weeks prior to my due date. I developed extremely high blood pressure, among various other issues, due to a condition called preeclampsia. For this reason, I was strongly advised to schedule the birth of my baby early. By this time, it was about 7 a.m. I was comfortable in bed with the medication running through my veins. I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is what I was so worried about? As the morning passed by slowly, I didn't understand what all the fuss about labor. As the clock showed noon, a doctor entered the room and suggested he manually break the water because the birthing process needed to get underway. The medication I was given was working, but not as well as they would have liked. By breaking my water, nature would hopefully take over. After a few attempts, the doctors were successful. My water was broke. I thought to myself that I would soon be holding my daughter in my arms. Boy, was I mistaken. It was now 3 p.m. The pain and discomfort I was experiencing was becoming unreal. I made the decision to have an epidural. This was something I really didn't want to have during the process, but after feeling the intense pressure and movement in my abdomen, it was clear to me that it was only going to get worse. Shortly after the injection, I was feeling a bit more comfortable, but the pain and discomfort were still very noticeable and real. I soon realized that this is what the fuss of labor was. I became very sick to my stomach and was vomiting often. I was progressing to where it was time to push. During this progression time, it was a constant search for a comfortable position. Turning from side to side, maneuvering the head of the bed up and down, and just plain rocking myself are some of the things that I tried. Nothing seemed to work. The clock showed 8 p.m. now. I remember feeling overwhelmed and exhausted at this point, but it was now time to push and meet this little girl. The doctors transformed my beautiful room into a place where a baby was to be received by opening cupboards and pulling out drawers. It was an amazing transformation. After getting into the position to push, I was telling myself, it's almost over. After a few exhausting pushes, Sydney was almost ready to enter the world. Despite a severe complication, my wonderful doctor delivered our beautiful daughter. The clock now showed 8:59 p.m. After emergency medical attention, we were able to hold her and look upon her perfect face. The feelings were overwhelming and seemed unreal. I had never felt anything like it before or ever since. The day was May 6, 2010, and we are now parents. After we spent a few days in the hospital recovering, it seemed impossible to comprehend that the staff was going to turn us loose with such a delicate gift and no instructions. It was the beginning of a life-changing journey that we're still on, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Oh, that was nice.
Thank you.